Welcome to the channel. In this video I'm going to do a review of the Archer AX10 from TP-Link. It's an AX1500 Wi-Fi 6 router, and I'm comparing it to my current router, which is an Asus RT-AC87U, which I've had for quite a while. Absolutely love. It's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's doing just fine. But I did want to get hold of a backup router, and I really wanted to try the new TP-Link range of hardware that came out this year. Now everything else is messed up in 2020, so my expectations are not particularly high. But anyway, let's take a look at the Archer AX10, and first we're going to look at the specifications. Then we're going to look at the performance and see how fast this router is and how well it performs, what the latency is like and all that good stuff. So let's have a look at the specifications on the TP-Link website. So as I said, this came out this year and it uses the new Wi-Fi 6 standard, which is the 802.11ax. And it supports AX, AC, NA at 5 GHz and 11N, B and G at 2.4. The speeds are 1201 megabits per second at 5 GHz and 300 at 2.4 GHz. And it's marketed at 3-bed houses. It's got 4 fixed antennas with beamforming, which is pretty similar to my Asus in that regard. And they claim a high power FEM, and that's supposed to increase the signal strength. Now it also has OFDMA, which communicates with Wi-Fi 6 clients. Now the Wi-Fi 6 client has to support OFDMA, and in addition to that there's also an airtime fairness feature, and it supports up to 4 streams at a time, which is great. This has got a router mode and an access point mode. What's lacking is a bridge mode, and I don't know why, because most routers historically that I've had, even very old routers, have some kind of bridge mode that allows you to connect router to router to do a really good job of extending. So I'm surprised it doesn't have bridge mode, but that's not a huge deal. Extenders are pretty cheap these days, and I think that's their plan, is to just help sell more extenders by not having a bridge mode. So as you demote your routers, as you get new routers, etc., they don't get used as extenders in the future. But anyway, the processor from a hardware perspective is a triple core CPU at 1.5 gigahertz, and on the port side it has gigabit WAN and 4 gigabit LAN ports. In terms of buttons, it's got the usual WPS Wi-Fi button, power on and off, LED on and off. You can switch the LEDs on and off, and there's an app to configure the router. I didn't use the app. I don't like installing apps unnecessarily, so I did test it using a browser from my phone, and you can configure it there just by going to the default router IP address, and that works fine. You can obviously download the app and do it through the app, but it's not necessary. You don't have to. And I just skipped all of that. There's also an option when you set it up to connect it to TP-Link Cloud. Again, I don't want to do that. I have no interest in connecting my router to their cloud. So you can skip all that in the setup as well. It does have an SPI firewall and basic access control, IP and MAC binding. So you can, only allow MAC addresses that you're familiar with to make sure you don't get any rogue connections. It has guest networks on both frequencies. It also has a built-in OpenVPN and peer-to-peer tunneling protocol. The disappointing part there is that it doesn't yet have WireGuard. WireGuard is a much better VPN than OpenVPN. The attack surface is smaller, so I would much prefer to see WireGuard in here, and hopefully maybe in the future they'll do a firmware upgrade. It'd be nice if they did. it would be better for TP-Link to do that because it also outperforms OpenVPN. OpenVPN is a dreadful performance, dreadful attack surface. Don't recommend it at all. So hopefully in the future, TP-Link routers will have WiGuard. It's now in the Linux kernel. There's no excuse. So it does support IPv6 and 4 and the usual URL filtering and parental controls, time controls, and that's good because this is the low end of the range of the TP-Link AX routers. The firmware update automatically upgrades. That's good. Over-the-air firmware updates are always nice. Nothing is completely secure. Someone's going to discover a vulnerability at some point, and it's nice to know that the firmware gets upgraded automatically to the latest secure version. It does support DDNS, and there's the usual NAT forwarding features, port forwarding, port triggering, DMZ, UPnP, all of that good stuff. And it even has IPTV support with IGMP, proxy, snooping bridge, tag, and VLAN, and DHCP address reservation, which is nice. I like to have static IPs on certain devices, and it's good for that. So yeah, for the lowest end router, the specifications, the features, they're pretty good. There's no super advanced security features, but honestly, you really don't need it. And on my Asus, I leave a lot of that stuff disabled and rely heavily on using Cloudflare's 1111 DNS service, because quite honestly, that's going to reject anything very quickly that's malicious that you're looking up on your browser. So I strongly recommend that when you do configure your routers, that you set the custom DNS. Don't use your cable provider's default DNS. Configure a 1111 as the primary DNS and 1001 as the secondary, and that will give you Cloudflare's much more secure DNS, and they are very quick to block malicious addresses and phishing attacks, and you're going to get an extra layer of protection that's good enough. It's as good as any of the Asus security features that are in there. It'll protect you to a higher degree on any modem, on any router, and I strongly recommend you do that. So now let's shoot over to the speed test. So let's run the Cloudflare speed test. I trust Cloudflare's speed test better than all the other junk that's out there. I'll put a link in the description below, but you basically go to speed.cloudflare.com and you'll get a very, very reliable speed test, and I recommend you use that instead of speedtest.net and all that other junk. I don't trust them, quite frankly. So go to speed.cloudflare.com to run your speed tests. So as you can see here, this is my service from my provider is 150 megabits per second and 15 up. So 150 down, 15 up. I'm getting 145 down here and exactly 15 up. So that's good. And the latency is very low and the jitter is very low. So that's very impressive. I'm getting the full speed, and that's a great sign, and that's really all you need. This is operating optimally. It's a very good result, and I'm incredibly impressed with the Archer AX10 from TP-Link. I think it's really good value. It's incredibly good value. So I picked mine up in the Black Friday sale. It was 79 Canadian dollars at the time, which compared to my $400 or $500 Asus router is really incredible. It's at least as good as my high-end Asus router. So this is very impressive. And again, as I said earlier, I specifically bought the cheapest possible version because The hardware on all of the AX range of routers is pretty much the same. There are some minor variations, like for example in the next model up, I think you get a USB port, and that's it. That's the only difference. Now, I can tell you that this AX10 performs extremely well, and I'm pretty certain that from a CPU perspective and a general hardware perspective, it's using the same new hardware across the board of their models. Now, someone might want to correct me if that's not strictly true, but generally speaking, I think you're getting really good hardware here and you're getting a really good deal. So I highly recommend the Archer AX10. Forget the high-end routers. You don't need them. I have one. I know. I've been using it for a while, and I looked at the latest Asus routers, and all they seem to do is add another funky antenna that you don't need. So unless you've got like 10 people in your house, then I really don't think you're going to need it. Even if you have got 10 people, I'm sure this router will still serve you just fine. So strongly recommend the Archer AX10, and I hope this review was helpful for you. If you found it helpful, please do give the channel a like and a subscribe, and I'll bring you some more stuff as I get it in. I've got some other things up my sleeve that I'm thinking about testing. So again, Archer AX10, great router. It's performing really well. Very pleased with it, and it's at least as good as my Asus RTAC 87U. Go get one. Thanks for watching.
Okay, here we go. This is the TP-Link 9920. Well, it's actually, I believe, the 841. No, it says 9920 there as the SSID, but the model number is different. It's the 841N. You see that there. Anyways, let's do a speed test. I'm connected directly to my network, hardwired. You see the black cable there, Ethernet. We're on. Let's do this. And we are right beside it. This is supposed to be a 300 megabyte per second router. Tech support told me that there's no return, there's nothing wrong, there must be something with my network. All right, let's run it again just in case. Oh, so we got a little bit better. We're at 91 now, and I just want to confirm that I am on the 9920 network. Okay, so we got 92 that time. We'll do it a third time, just in case the third time it happens to go over 300. I will let you know that I do have a 600 megabyte service. That's the max my service can go. All right, so we got 91. Now, what we're gonna do is we are gonna switch to my network upstairs. So this is on the second floor. And we're just waiting. There it is. So we're just logging on now. All right, we are now on the HandsFam network. It is Wi-Fi. I'm even going to unplug and disconnect this completely, so you know that I'm not running this thing they call. I think this is actually empty inside. I don't think that there's anything even in there. But let's now run a speed test. This is upstairs. 263 megabytes a second. All right, let's cancel this one. Let's do it again. Woo, we broke 300. Not from you. All right, let's do it one more. Let's be fair because we gave the other guy a shot. There we go. Look at that. Wow. And again, this is just my, it's another TP link. It's just my my service from upstairs. So there you have it. I do not recommend this product. You cannot return it. They will not accept a return. And no matter what tech support does, they cannot make this thing work. So no matter how great tech support says they are or how helpful they try to be, you can't turn a worm into a lion. It's just not going to happen. Stay away from that product. Thank you.